The summer blockbuster season has officially kicked off. I just got out of watching The Thunderbolts. This is the final movie in the phase 5 of the MCU, going into phase 6, starting with the Fantastic Four. But man, getting into this movie was really interesting. I know some people was always excited about this movie. Others not so much. Some people don't care. They don't know how it really fits into the overall universe. And I will have to say straight up, you definitely have to watch this movie because it definitely ties into things moving forward, especially with the next few movies that we're going to get. Everything kind of building up to Doomsday, and a lot of people are kind of concerned on how they're going to tie everything in, but I think they're setting something up that is interesting, and you're starting to see things connect, especially with this movie and the characters that they use. So with that being said, I will try to not talk about spoilers because I'm going to save that for my discussion on the Perp Show this Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern. So definitely tune in for that. I'm going to have a panel and some other people to talk about their thoughts, and we're going to go more in depth with the spoilers and the post-credit scenes. There are two, one at the mid-credit and one at the end. So definitely make sure you stay to watch those two because they are very important, and the direction that they're going to go as far as who are the new Avengers or who is the new team, that's going to kind of like another theme throughout this movie. So the story follows Yelena. She is pretty much the main focus of this movie. So the movie begins with her jumping off this building, monologuing. We're hearing her thoughts and how she really is struggling to find purpose other than just doing these jobs, killing people and just doing horrible things, which this is pretty much a follow-up to the Black Widow movie, where we saw at the end of that movie she was working for Val, doing these just odd jobs. Now she has this job for Val that ends up being a trap. You see this in the trailer. She crosses paths with John Walker, Ghost, and even Taskmaster, which was really kind of surprising what ends up happening to certain characters when they first encounter one another. But once they find out that this is a trap, this is where the movie really starts to kick off, where they have this thing that Val's trying to get rid of, all of this evidence that could lead to her being impeached, and her trying to just pretty much save face and cover up all her, nasty stuff, human experiments. This is where Bob comes into play. Bob is obviously the Sentry / the Void, and I really like how they utilize his powers, like literally sending people to the Shadow Realm, diving into people's darkest parts of their minds and their feelings. Really dope. Gonna speak more about that on the stream Saturday, so definitely tune into that. I don't want to go too in depth, but Sentry does play a very crucial part of this movie. I like how each character has their flaws. Like John Walker, he's just a dick. We find a little bit more about what he's been kind of going through since Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So they are tying some of these loose ends up with just the Thunderbolts. Even with Ghost's character, which seems random, but it makes sense that she would be working for Val as well. So all these people have connections to Val in some type of way. You even have Bucky in here, and he's trying to maneuver his way into kind of like politics, even though it was short-lived. They said he served like half a term, which is hilarious. And like I said in the beginning of this review, there's this void, no pun intended, that there's no Avengers team really put together. And I really am curious to see how that's going to play out moving forward. And I think we're going to get that resolve in Doomsday. But like, I'm going to speak more about that in the spoiler discussion. Overall, what you have with this movie is not really a ripoff from, some may say this is a ripoff from Suicide Squad and the Suicide Squad, and it's kind of the Marvel equivalent to that, but I feel like they make a lot of different distinctions from the two. So going into this, you might think this movie is going to be about XYZ, but it definitely subverts your expectations on what's really being done here. And I really like how they handle these characters. They make them these kind of castaways, really an interesting team, a really interesting bunch. I even like the dynamic between Yelena and Bob. It's very reminiscent of Natasha and Bruce Banner in a lot of ways. I really like those parallels. And even her relationship to Alexei, the Red Guardian, and how he also strives to wanting to just do something more with his life. Also wanting Yelena to do something as well. Don't always feel kind of guilty for your about what happened with Natasha, and just there's a lot of just interesting themes with all these different characters. They share certain kind of concerns, or just being lonely, depression. Very fascinating, man. I think this movie does a good job with its action as well. Um, just the teamwork that they kind of go off of is really dope. A lot of really cool action set pieces. I think like nothing looked like out of place as far as like the CGI. None of that looked wonky. It actually looked really clean. And like I said, it very much takes itself serious when it needs to take itself serious. You see what is at stake at the end. Overall, I think people are going to be surprised with this movie. Maybe not so much for people that are diehard comic book fans and know the Century. I don't know how they're going to feel about certain changes, because Marvel and how they do these movies. Every single movie has made dramatic changes from their comic book counterpart, which if you can kind of separate that too, I think there's a lot to enjoy with this movie. Overall, it's very action packed. It has a lot of heart. You end up really liking these characters. You